I married a queen, fierce and powerful, not to be fucked with, and I know that person is still inside of you. Let me be your knight.
He wants to be of service. I actually think that's true of all people. We have in us this built-in desire to serve others.
Interesting when Bronte sees the trauma that he went through as a child and how a protector developed in him, and that was what became the killer in him.
What if you didn't have to kill people to prove your love?
So it's definitely not a secret that I genuinely do believe that women can be programmed. As a writer, as a creator myself, I believe that women can be programmed not through leashes, not through orders, but through stories, with fantasies, with delicate affirmations of what they could be if, you know, they played their role in somebody else's moral theater. And no, it definitely does not have to be a man's. I know, because I am definitely a recipient of some complexion of programming that I honestly don't mind autopsying for the sake of this video, for the sake of this series, because to be honest with you, it was an essentially vulnerable calibration point as I just sorted my thoughts through in preparing for this video, for this, you know, for this deep dive on the series You on Netflix.
Oh, fuck.
Joe tries to get in touch with Henry, so he ends up threatening Teddy.
I'm going to definitely try to be as delicate and forgiving with my language as possible, but guys, it's a fact that in certain spaces, women and gay men have become incredibly good at forming these toxic relatability circuits, and men have become just as strategically apathetic, cruel, programmed essentially for tired independence. This series that I'm doing is not just about Joe Goldberg. Hear me when I say that this is about what happens when we domesticate evil within ourselves and others, and then delude ourselves into calling it intimacy. So without further ado, let's begin. So in transparency of my biases, I think what you should know about me is that in my most intimate life, in my personal life, I've only really ever been invested in by men whose character, without hyperbole, aspired without excuse to moral excellency at every fault line of the human condition. Guys, let's be honest, okay? we all have our foibles, we all have our imperfections, and honestly, the examples in my life, the examples of exemplary men in my life, I'm grateful for the fact that they never saw themselves as perfect to me. But definitely, and I know some of you have met these types of people, some are more extenuating of their imperfections at the point of accountability than others. The most influential men in my life have, again, like I said, by no exaggeration, been principled, been disciplined. However, some of you may know, and honestly just appreciate by, if you've watched any video on my channel, you'll know that my pattern of emotional relatability has always veered masculine. It has always veered masculine long before it ever became personal. I mean, I remember as a young girl, I always veered towards masculine coded worlds. I make no secret of the fact that I love politics, I love conspiracies, I love I love deep state mysteries, I love cybernetics, I love aliens, I love bioweapons, and I love reading. I love reading, specifically old books. That's always been, like, I read books. Books informed so much of my life, so much of my childhood, and that's how I've always been. But if I'm being honest with you, with that at a young age did come incongruity, loneliness, and I mean crippling loneliness for a large portion of my adolescence, because I'm told this to this day, that my presenting aesthetic does not match my personality. There is a familiarity and an empathy that I've had for deep insecurities that aren't expected of my age or of my gender. And I'm telling you this because I am very much aware, and I feel that you should be aware of the fact that, okay, well, it's obvious that these worlds, these spaces tend to be very masculine dominated. And so my overexposure to masculine temperaments in those worlds, in those spaces, did build a strong bias of empathy and relatability within me from that young age. I'm under no illusions to the fact that that experience did definitely imprint on my current ideological paradigm. I believe transparency is important, and I do believe that it's good when you know somebody's, you know the prejudices that somebody is coming into an analysis with before you just indulge them and take their opinions. Even So yeah, so I hope that helps and contextualizes a lot. All that being said, I'm going to pull us into the cultural arc of the romantic monster. Let's talk about Joe Goldberg.
True love, being held, being truly seen by someone you admire so fiercely, I think makes me the luckiest man alive.
Joe Goldberg is not just a sociopath, you guys. He is so much worse. He is sentimental. He cries over poetry. He quotes Nabokov. He wants love to save him, and he believes that it will. But here is the terrifying part. He doesn't want to be saved from his own darkness. No. He wants to be understood inside of it. That is the bait. He does not seduce women with darkness. He baits them in with empathy, with understanding, with awareness, with the chilling suggestion that he sees you in a way that nobody else will. Because he too was broken. Because he too was left.
Interesting when Bronte sees the trauma that he went through as a child and how a protector developed in him, and that was what became the killer in him.
What if you didn't have to kill people to prove your love?
Women hate feeling disoriented, unsafe, left to pick up the pieces on their own. I mean, I know that I definitely, I will run from the slightest, the slightest hint of this feeling. We hate having to hold a reality together on our own, a family on our own. And I think that it too easily escapes us as women that men hate that too, because I think we are so, I don't know, sorry guys, I'm just looking at my notes. I think that we are so amplifying of static, right? Of static gendered architectures. But when we really pull back the curtain when it comes to Joe Goldberg, we'll see that he isn't really building a connection. He's building a script, and you, as a woman, are the redemptive lead. Joe Goldberg is the archetype of the romantic monster, guys, and this is a character that spans centuries. He is Cain, okay? He's Cain. He is Cain standing at the altar, at the fire of his own sacrifice, and watching God himself turn him away. He is Lucifer. He was sentimental. He was sentimental for heaven, but he was in love with his own exile. In another deep dive, maybe we'll map this through, but in both Judeo-Christian and pagan mythologies, both these men were exactly like Joe. They were offended by the rejection of their perceived virtue. Cain brought an offering, you guys. God refused it, and we know, looking at the narrative timeline, that sin crouched at the door. It waited for him, and Cain was warned by God of the malevolence that was watching his heart. And instead of recalibrating, Cain decided to kill the one whose offering was accepted. This is exactly how the psychospiritual loop begins. Resentment, okay? Why don't they love me? I don't get it. How can they not love me? Then we go to narrative creation. They don't deserve me. Then we get into addiction. I don't deserve this pain. I need to numb this pain. Oh, and then it goes into possession. I will control somebody to prove that I am lovable. And then finally, the end point is destruction. If they don't love me, I will destroy myself, or I will destroy them. It's like a whole self-sabotage thing. The serpent, we have to appreciate, did not hiss, it reasoned. He reasoned, rather. Sorry, we know, guys, that the serpent was an incarnation of sentience, and I think it often escapes us how rational evil must be in order to realize itself in the hearts of men. That's, I believe, why people feel so detached from these strategies of a divine God, because he moves differently. His way of doing things it's not pulled from Greek or Latin rationale. The princes of Greece and or Persia, man's logicisms and wisdoms, these do not bind him. He has his own order, and Joe Goldberg is not just evil incarnate, okay? Joe is evil domestic, and that, mark my words, is far more dangerous. So pulling from the precursor to possession, I think it was addiction. I need something to numb this pain. We see something very interesting start to manifest. Joe Goldberg, in my opinion, is the end result of a chemical phenomenon, essentially. I'm describing addiction, but not addiction to bodies, not addiction to romance, addiction to stories, addiction to narratives and fantasies that soften evil, that sanctify pain as love. See, the precursors to possession are always small. It's always You guys know it always starts as an itch for control, a taste, right, for pain as proof of passion, a need, right, to be needed so violently that the object of affection must shrink, must fracture, and must forget that it itself has a soul. It is so cruelly fascinating. It is so, like, that, guys, this is why I wanted to do an autopsy on the series, at least season 5, because addiction, after all, is only the skin of a deeper impulse, and that impulse is at least that impulse manifests in thoughts is, I need something to numb this pain. We talk so much about strategies of programming the human mind on this channel, but I don't think we talk as much about how, okay, we talk a lot about how they program us, definitely, but we don't talk a lot about how we program ourselves. We don't talk about the extent that we actually choose, in my opinion, to be programmed, when reality literally tastes like suffering and fantasy comes with this instant relief. And the most addictive fantasy of all is when the person you are watching needs you. Fantasies that essentially amputate the other's inconvenient humanity. This is what does. This is what smut does. I'm explicating to you what obsessive storytelling does. It essentially trains us to prefer the function of a human being that ingratiates your desire to be needed. I mean, seriously, at every point that I encounter porn, it becomes more apparent to me that we as human beings would make terrible gods, because like we don't want true free will in the supporting characters of our own stories. We can't stand it. Men consume this amputated version of women and call it pleasure. And in the same vein, women consume this amputated version of men and call it empowerment. Neither are whole, neither are real. And when we begin to prefer the unreal, the insulting, that is when we become unsafe. I'm transparent about this. You guys know I make no excuses. I hate the modern complexion of modern feminism, and it does not just begin as, oh, I hate that they're hating men. Like, no, it is so much deeper than that. I hate what it's done to our standards of accountability, and because I love women, I want to hold us accountable. I believe in our intelligence, in our integrity, and that is why, you guys know, I detest, which is precisely why it unsettles me, especially so in the world of book talk, when we choose to indulge, to support, and to eroticize narratives that do not preserve humanity. You know who I'm talking about. He is the warlord with I don't know, with a 6-figure salary. He is the moody, self-flagellating God who kills for you, who cries for you, and who absolutely cannot live without you. It is so laughable, but mostly I think it is tragic, and I hate the same reason. It amputates the parts of a woman's inconvenient soul so that a man's soul can become superficially consequential. It's disgusting. I'm sorry, guys. I can't stand it. I can't stand. Anyway, the psycho-spiritual loop mutates, and I think it looks a little bit like this. And what I'm addressing to what I'm painting out to you is the portrait of a narcissist with a psychopathic split. So it starts with resentment. Why not me? And then we go on to pride. Okay, I deserve better. And then my favorite one, delusion. I am better. And then rage, obviously, because if I can't have it, no one will. And finally, seduction. Let me convince you that God is the liar. Sound familiar? See what I'm saying? Like, guys, I don't hate men. I don't hate women. I hate the way we've scripted each other into functionaries of our unresolved parenting wounds. Okay, that is my issue. Okay, but anyway, moving on. Let's talk about season 5, and why women tend to prefer. Some women tend to prefer psychopathic men, and I'm going to explain it all to you. I'm going to honestly try my best to explain this. Oh, guys, this delusion to you. I'm going to try to be nice, but I want to approach this as delicately as possible. So we've got Joe Goldberg, he's our psychopath, okay? And he has accepted the murderous parts of him. And the fracture in him and his wife, Kate's relationship, because, okay, they're married now. Spoilers if you haven't watched the first 3-4 seasons. So yeah, the fracture between Kate and Joe's relationship is that Kate herself has the same capacity for homicidal vengeance. Except, obviously, she resents the fact that Joe won't even control his capacity for homicidal vengeance as she wrestles with her own. So Kate is wrestling with guilt, she's wrestling with the darkest parts of herself, but Joe accepts it.
Were you always this obvious, this pathetic?
Now the veil has been completely ripped from Kate's eyes. She knows that Joe is not someone who just kills for extenuating circumstances, but someone who is a bona fide serial killer.
For Kate, their relationship is about keeping each other's evils domesticated, right, at bay. Almost dead, but not fully, like they can be resurrected at any point when it's needed, right? The two of them keep each other good, according to her. But to Joe, evil can be justified as long as it is ingratiated, as long as it is fed, and as long as it is oriented to some purpose. As long as his evil can be satisfied to some virtuous purpose, in this case, that purpose being his child, his son Henry, and his entire family, everything is okay, right? His purpose is his child and his family, but you guys, this is not marriage. This is a hostage situation. It is a mutual hostage situation where each partner agrees, like, okay, I won't expose you if you don't expose me. Let's be the cage for each other's monsters. Let's not completely kill the beast. No. Let's feed it in controlled doses. And this is precisely what so many power couples look like, I think, in secular culture. A man with a moral void, a woman with a restrained conscience, both pretending that they are each other's peace whilst keeping each other accomplices in shared sin. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that men fall in love with women who believe in them. And I think, I've been investigating and wrestling with that sentiment. I think there's credence to it. I think that chillingly, this belief can be engineered in maladaptive necessity to produce the same attraction. See, the issue, the fracturing point in their marriage is that Kate no longer believes in her husband. Okay, Joe has an affair. He steps out on his marriage with Bronte, because, and there's a really chilling quote for this, because Bronte believed in the virtues of the beast within himself. She values the malevolent side of him that steps up when no one else will. What Bronte, what the other woman offers him, isn't just a temptation, okay? It is a crown of virtue placed on his sin.
He's so deluded that he takes her embrace of his dark instincts as validation or reason to think that Kate might come around.
There was a time when I could read your mind, and I don't know when that changed.
And Joe Goldberg, like many, unfortunately, like many men, will end up falling in love with a woman, honestly, with anybody who justifies the worst parts of themselves under the illusion of loyalty. Now, women are attracted to feeling safe. I'm definitely familiar with that feeling. I get her, because she now feels disoriented and unsafe in her relationship with Joe. I've seen so many women with really hardened religious values wrestle with this, and I sympathize with them, because I feel it. I feel the frustration every day when your reference point of protection is so exemplary, is so, I don't know, like when you've just been exposed to such a blameless standard of protection, you know that you cannot consent to anything less, because you understand that your partner's lack of submission to what you know has protected you your entire life will damn you, right? A relationship with somebody who, I don't know how to explain it without isolating people, but it's a really hard line to walk when you're consenting to be with somebody who isn't submitted to the same protection that you are familiar with, that you trust, that has taken care of you your entire life, and this is especially exemplified when you have a good father. It becomes really difficult, because good and well that relationship will damn you, and that's the worst part, because the thing is, the guy, like the gent you're with, he'll be fine. Like he will not feel a thing, and you will be there suffering, and what hurts the most, is that he won't even get it. He won't even understand why you are going through it, and you'll just be there. You'll just be there, and you'll I don't know. You're living in completely different worlds, and it's you don't want to you never force your beliefs on somebody. Do not try to do that. rather, like, it's so much better to just find somebody with whom you are on the same page with, because somebody is going to be suffering and somebody else is going to be completely oblivious to the crisis that this relationship is becoming. Anyway, my point is, when a woman is anchored in moral consequence, a man who disrespects that consequence becomes terrifying. I know, and I appreciate that this narrative is very popular. It is sold in a lot of books to women, and that is why, guys, I can't stand Twilight. I struggle so much to read YA. Like, no, I don't want to be the reason I'm like the beast inside you doesn't bite because you love me that much. I don't want to be the reason you don't snap because you adore me that much. Like, that is not romantic. And quite honestly, I hate that it is shoved down my throat. I hate that it is shoved down so many women's throats to idealize. Men do genuinely need to be bound by something higher, and I will be damned if it's me. I will be damned if it's me. Literally, I cannot fix you. Men cannot be bound to their moral consciences by women, and mark my words, women will be broken to ideological resentment and probably Jezebelian hedonism under that weight. In the next video of this series, we'll go all the way down. I think we should, yeah, we're gonna anatomize spirits wearing flesh, the mind and bitter psychology of Cain, angry at God for favoring another. I want to go into the rebellion of Absalom. I mean, he was beautiful, he was rebellious, but he was fatherless in many ways, even though he had obviously like a present father. David, Shane, the man really went through it. And yes, eventually I would love to do Lucifer himself, the fall of Lucifer. When you map this out through multiple accounts, historical religious accounts, doctrines, philosophy, it is so interesting. I would love to do that eventually. You know, you guys, I just talk about what I want to talk. I do not I listen, especially to you guys, but I am not really guided by the algorithm. These spirits are not extinct. I, however, am tired. So goodbye. I've been talking for a while, even though my bias is is in favor of ancient figures. Your input in what you would like to see discussed, even if it means we talk about modern people, I don't mind. It's the focus is I don't even know what the focus is. Okay, psychopathic men. Okay, psychopathic men. I don't like to impose that definition, that diagnosis on real people, but in at least diagnosing the characteristics, in at least like figuring out what is going on, maybe we could do that. I don't know. Your input, your comments, your anything anything you have to contribute is so appreciated, is so necessary. But you know, I've been talking for way too long. I'm gonna leave now. I'm gonna edit. I'm gonna read the comments, and hopefully this will be fun. I'm really excited, and I hope to see you very, very soon. You take care, and goodbye.